The arsonist has oddly shaped feet. Ow now, brown cow. Alright, here we go. Just got home from a couple hours of lacrosse training. Watched the Atlas and the Whip Snake sixes as I mucked 4 bow buns from Fat Baby. It's Bow Bun Tuesday, of course. And we got a mic. So going at this Ryan Whitney style, let's do a pod. Jump right in. As always, we'll start with line drills here. Had the Super Bowl over the weekend. Hope everybody enjoyed. Obviously, Eagles dominated. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Definitely won me some money, which was cool. Not much to report. Didn't get a Travis Kelce proposal. We got to see Patrick Mahomes fail, which for New Englanders was a positive. And certainly probably people took too much, too much happiness in it. But I don't know. You gotta root for the underdog, I think. Cool to see Jalen Hurts win. The Eagles were better. Great all around. I had a lot of fun. Obviously, betting on the Eagles, being up 24-zip was encouraging. We like that. One butterfly effect thing I want to talk about, which I thought was interesting. We were talking about at the Super Bowl party I was at. Jalen Carter, D lineman for the Eagles, wins a national championship with the Georgia Bulldogs. Goes to the NFL Combine, really high on people's draft boards. Gets into a car crash, kills 2 people, and his draft stock deservedly slips. He goes at 10 to the Eagles instead of the previously projected top 3. And here he is, Super Bowl champ. Didn't have too many stats on the day in the Super Bowl, but it was certainly disruptive. 2 quarterback hits, opened up things for his teammates all over the place, garnering double teams and things of that nature. But really interesting to see how that stuff plays out. Speaking of the big game, menu for me, first half margaritas, second half old fashions. Oh, and there was food, assortment of dips, homemade chili. I certainly didn't go hungry, that's for sure. You give me a good dip, I'm as happy as a clam. The more dip, the better. I don't care if I fill up on it. I actually didn't even have any chili, just had dips. What else we got? Line drills. Oh, big time fist bump to Dickie Vitale making his return to the ESPN broadcast courtside for the Duke Clemson game. Incredible battle that he fought with throat cancer, and he's back. And it's great to see a generational talent that Dickie V is, and a guy who many of us will always equate his voice to college basketball. I'm going to do a segment later on in his honor for sure. Another return we saw this weekend was Randy Moss to the ESPN Sunday NFL Countdown desk after his battle with bile duct cancer. So awesome. He was emotional as all get out to start the broadcast, and just really cool to see him back after his battle. Also want to shout out Hubie Brown, NBA analyst, covering his last game. What a weekend in the broadcast world. Jumping right into 4 quarters here, all right? It's late on a Tuesday. Let's get this thing going. All right, first quarter, we're going to graze over just a couple of games. First, UVA Colgate. Colgate's Hunter Druin is not talked about enough. New Hampshire product. He's slippery and explosive and fast as all get out. He's going to be a problem in the Patriot League for sure. Jack Turner, attackman for the Raiders as well. He's fearless and, I'll go ahead and say it, reckless. But gets it done at attack for the Raiders. What those guys have? Let's check what they had on the day here. Let's see what we got. I know they obviously took the L. But I think they had decent days. They certainly did what they could. I was wrong. Hunter June was definitely a matchup problem, but only 1 helper on the day, 4 shots. only one of them on net, 3 turnovers. So take back what I said about Hunter, but I still think he's going to be a problem just because of his athleticism. And then Turner, it's actually funny. Jack Turner isn't in the box score with his number. So I don't know what kind of day Jack Turner had. Interesting. It is what it is. But I stick by it. He's reckless, but he's finding a way to get it done. Colgate didn't back away from their 10-man. Went right at UVA with it. It was interesting, though, in the first quarter, Colgate head coach Matt Carwick got an unsportsmanlike conduct, which actually put the Raiders down 2 men, I believe. So they went 6v4, but UVA was just chucking it long to beat the 10-man, and the refs perceived one of the chucks as a shot. Coach Kerwick went absolutely berserk, and broadcasters, they're like, I thought he was a pretty mild-mannered dude. Coach Kerwick can get fired up. There's no doubt about it, especially when, referees are letting the clearing team off the hook easy. One item that I would love some dialogue around. Rule change for the 10-man. Let's find a way to make the long-range shot a little bit more of a shot. In my head, we've got to pick a line on the field that you have to be across for the shot to be considered a shot. I think half field's probably too far. Top of your defending box probably works. I'll bring it up to the NCAA Rules Committee. I think for it to be considered a shot, you at least have to advance the ball past the top of your defending box. Let me know what you think. I mean, I could be convinced of the midline too. Just make for more chaos in the middle of the field and make the 10-man that much more effective and more of that fast-paced transition lacrosse that we all know and love. But Coach Carwick's tirade didn't go unheard, because in the second quarter he gets his just huck and chuck call on a similar attempt by UVA to go his way. But then Ben Ware potted one in the second quarter against the 10-man. But all in all, like, the 10-man gives you more opportunities back than goals. And those opportunities, as long as they outweigh the number of goals you're giving up, positive, net positive. I'm a huge believer in the 10-man. So love to see the Raiders going at it. Certainly a Judd Lattimore thing coming over from Boston University. Going to be interesting to see the BU Colgate conference game again this year, 10-man v 10-man. Thrilling 18-17 overtime game last year. Mark your calendars for that one. But as far as UVA, Jack Walsh burst onto the scene for them, lefty midfielder. Great time in room. Scored a cutting goal in the first quarter on an assist from Millen. He ended up being 3-0 on the day, and I'm actually curious if he's getting his time due to the 3 red shirts that are being taken by the highly ranked freshmen coming in for the Wahoos, or if he was ready and had a spot even with those young bucks being on campus, and if they were to play. But great day from Jack. Got to keep an eye on him with the 3-0 on opening weekend for them. UVA down at close. They started Fulton, Kaloji, and Schroeder. No surprise there. The surprise was Morris getting the start in net for the Wahoos. I think everyone sort of thought that it would be the starter from last year, Matthew Nunes. But no, they went with Kyle Morris, and to me, looked very confident. Played a great game. I think his official stats, what we got here? Official stats. Geez, some of these box scores are tough to read. 12 saves on the day. Pretty good. Giving up 9. Positive. But yeah, keep an eye on that. See how long, if it's Morris's net or if he finds himself looking over his shoulder at noons, and maybe they make a change if he starts to go shaky. But really interested to see Morris getting the nod on opening day after Noons has been what I believe to be a 3-year starter. As Nothing Near Post predicted, Truitt Sunderland making an impact. He's playing EMO for the Wahoos. He's doing exactly what we expected over here at Nothing Near Post. 6-3 on the day, 13 shots, 9 shots on goal. Hell of a day for Truitt Sunderland, for sure. Almost overshadowing McCabe Millen down there at attack, who ended up going 2-3. But that attack unit, albeit a touch undersized, certainly gave Colgate everything that they could handle and more. But yeah, shout out Truitt Sunderland going 6-3. Big fans over here at Nothing Near Post of what Sunderland's going to be doing down in Charlottesville. Speaking of that attack unit, obviously UVA graduated Peyton Cormier, but they got another lefty who can fill it up. Colsey is just a walking bucket. He's a problem, obviously, with a lot of focus on Millen. And now, after going 6-3, a lot of focus on Sunderland. Colsey was only 2-1 on the day, but he got 9 shots off. He'll dial that in, I got to believe. And you got matchup problems there. Big time. Next game there, sticking in quarter one, Jacksonville and Duke. Nothing Near Post, huge fan of Dalton Hubbs, D-Mitty for the Dolphins, but also on the first peeper unit. During one of the EMOs early in the game, 16-yard high-to-high smoke from top center. You just love to see it. Every D-mid has to love to see that. Speaking of EMO for the Dukies, I wasn't all that impressed with their skill and their stick work on the EMO. I'm sure they'll get it cleaned up, but just seemed a little stiff out there. And 6v6 wise, McAdory is a man. He is an absolute man. Certainly going to be in the conversation for Tewaaraton at the end of the year. Just, he's a problem. So explosive. But I do find it interesting. This Jacksonville Duke result, yeah, it was 14-9 final. Jacksonville was in it pretty much the whole way until the fourth quarter. What does this result say more about? Or who does this result say more about? Say more about Duke? Does it say more about Jacksonville? Or does it say more about Cuse and the Orange? Personally, I think it says more about Cuse and the Orange. Now, Duke had to play on the road at Jacksonville. Jacksonville had to play on the road at Cuse. Cuse was in the friendly confines of the JMA Wireless Dome, but Cuse has a big one coming up this weekend down in College Park, so I think we'll have our questions answered there. Last game I want to touch on in quarter one, Tar Heels, Michigan. All I'm going to say is that the Gorillas must have not gotten a pass to leave the zoo, the Ann Arbor Zoo, last weekend. Jumping into the second quarter, Terps v. Loyola at Ridley. Defensive battle. Loyola goalie Max Watkinson Jr. from St. Paul's, who's waited his turn behind Luke Stout. He started molten lava hot and really didn't let up. The Hounds were playing some zone mixed in with some man, really good change-ups. Coach Dwan running the defense there with Coach Toomey for the Greyhounds. Great job mixing things up and keeping the Terps on their heels for sure. Obviously, Watkinson had a good day, but McNaney for the Terps is just unflappable. Dude's a cheat code. My opinion, what makes him so good, it's just his ability to read shooters. He knows what spot they're trying to pick, and sometimes it seems like he knows it before they even do. Now, it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows on Saturday for Logan. He gave up 3 for sure that he wants back, one of which was the Remy Reynolds pole goal, but, I mean, that goal had to go because it capped off a sick highlight of a clean takeaway on a can opener that even Uncle Ricky Beast would be proud of. But still a great day when you go 59% and win the game. So McNaney did everything that he needed to do there for sure, only giving up 7. But neither offense seemed to have a guy who could consistently win a one-on-one matchup, which I found interesting. I think that speaks to both defensive units, but certainly Loyola's. But made it really difficult to create scoring chances, hence the final goal total. This also led to super elongated possessions on both ends. They were both super patient just because they couldn't create couldn't create a matchup win. But I was certainly impressed with Loyola's day. Fundamental, work well together, athletic, and executed the game plan really, really well, but going between man and zone. But one of the game plans that I wanted to highlight that Loyola had defensively was the adjacent slide package to dodges from below GLE, mostly to the invert and short stick defenders, but certainly we're ready to go to poles if necessary. But I mean, this adjacent look is not an easy thing to execute because the second slide is so difficult to time up, because that second slide's either got to come off the crease to that shooting spot on the corner, which is an adjacent pass that the Dodger can easily find. It's also scary as all get out to slide off of that shooting spot. You can hesitate and give up a really good look, but great job by the Hounds to stick with this game plan and execute it at a really high level. And this type of slide package, in my opinion, there are 2 distinct advantages that it provides. First, slide angle provides an easier path to get to the Dodger versus coming from the crease and reading the on-ball defender. It's just more difficult coming off the crease. Do you go to the high side? Do you go to the underside? Do you have to run through the head of the stick of the on-ball defender because he's still fighting to tie up the Dodgers' hands? But I think it just makes for an easier angle. 2, you're not relying on 2 slides to cover up the inside, which is the most dangerous scoring area on the field. Because let's be honest, even a great 2 slide can be beaten by a great cut because if you're in a fundamental position as a 2 or a cold 2, that means you're on the offensive player's back because you're getting ready to bump back out to the perimeter. So the 2 slide, you're covered up inside, right? You're covered up inside. You're covering the danger areas, and with teams that love to look inside, it's a super effective way to slide to those dodges from below GLE. But beyond the scheme, Loyola's defenders were super disruptive with the end of their sticks. Whether that was with heavy checks to gloves of Dodgers on ball or even showing up as sliders. Shout out Tyler Hess, a.k.a. Hess Truck, who I had the pleasure to coach back in the day. Together, we coined the term swinging the axe, and Loyola defenders do just that, making Dodgers feel them at the end of their stick. It was fun to watch. But even with this, they also use their sticks to knock down a ton of passes. Sometimes an undervalued skill on the defensive end, but if you could defend passing lanes and skip lanes, adjacent passing lanes, on ball and skip lanes, the offense's job just gets a lot harder. And it makes offenses think the next time they want to throw something through the defense or forces a Dodger to take an extra cradle to throw an adjacent. And that time that you're creating is a defense's best friend. So Terps defense, they needed less scheme to be as great as they were. They won their one-on-one matchups consistently and worked to keep those matchups in the pick game. Just such a luxury to be able to rely significantly on winning your matchup defensively. Why? Way less moving pieces and less opportunities for breakdowns or cracks in the armor due to those moving pieces, whether it's slide guys showing up on time or 2s being in the right spot. But this showed in the final numbers for Loyola, 7 goals coming on only 2 assists. So clearly they were winning one-on-one matchups and not sliding all that much without too many moving pieces. So, and actually one of those 7 goals, and I guess one of the 5 goals that came without assists was the game tying on the dodge off the end line by the Hoyas. But even with the below average day for the Terps, their defensive unit obviously picked them up, but the difference maker for me was the faceoff unit. The 68% winning percentage gave the Terps so many more extra possessions that the Hounds defense just couldn't hang on in the fourth. No question to me, this is why the floodgates opened up in the fourth, and Loyola had to, who were holding a lead in the fourth, had to come back and score the goal, the game tying goal, right as basically the buzzer sounded. But not only was it the defense, taking on a ton of water and playing a ton of defense, but Eric Spanos, for the Terps, he went Thanos mode, potting a hat trick in the fourth quarter alone, netting 4 total on the day. But great effort by him in the fourth quarter and by the Terps to just wear down a strong Loyola defense. But to put a bow on this game has to be devastating for the Greyhounds, because the game winner by Binghamton transfer Matthew Kickin came on a dodge from X against a short stick, and because of the shape of the ball of the off-ball Terp players, the Hounds simply couldn't slide to it in their adjacent package that they had been so successful with all day. So there was no shooter on the corner because of the way the off-ball players were set up for the Terps. So this led to a crease slide in which the slider took a bad angle, and Keegan ran right past the slide guy and ended the game going up the lefty hash. So it just sucks when schematically you've got a plan for something and the offense just doesn't allow you to execute it just because of where they are set up, and that's kind of the name of the game. But Terps survive. Hound schedule doesn't get any easier from here, but I'll tell you what, the Patriot League is going to have a very hard time scoring enough goals to consistently beat Loyola, and honestly, the Terps are going to have a hard time scoring enough goals to beat Cuse next week. I think Loyola's defense and Syracuse's defense are going to be pretty on par, but that Cuse Terps game is going to be the premier game of the weekend for sure. All right. Enough of that. Halftime. Brought to you by my favorite clothing brand, 4103. Right here. Dopest hats and streetwear in the game. You can check them out on Instagram at 4103CO. 4103CO on Instagram. Jumping right into the third quarter here. Hopkins, Georgetown. Family affair. You got the Moore brothers for Hopkins, and then you got the Krogan brothers playing against each other. In my opinion, this game was the personification of why Coach Childs of York put so much emphasis on shooting percentage. Georgetown had 34 shots total to Hopkins 25, but Stout for the Blue Jays only had 6 saves. So 34 shots. Blue Jays goalie only had 6 saves while only giving up 6. Hopkins netted 11 on their 25 shots. Name of the game right there. As far as Hopkins is concerned, they started the game with a Collison goal against the 10-man, which with my rule change would have counted. As far as if you have to be past the defensive restraint or past your defensive restraining line. They also got goals in other cool ways too. Their second goal was in the sub game, as was their 9th. So really cool to see Hopkins working sort of specialty areas to find ways to put points up on the scoreboard. Also want to call out on the second midfield line for the Jays, sophomore midfielder Rawson earned the LSM matchup after 2 great games to start the year. We talked about him a bunch, but cool to see him garnering that type of respect for sure. I personally still haven't seen anything from Chick down at attack for the Blue Jays, but let's be honest, they're 3-0 and scoring enough goals to win. So he's doing something right down there for sure. But I think if they want to continue to go deep into May, they've got to get more production out of that spot. But the hell do I know? Collison is an absolute moose in the midfield. Talk about a violent release. But I will say it was interesting to me. The fourth goal of the game, Kark and Quint in the booth were screaming the praises of the defense that they were playing on Collison. Georgetown LSM was in a V hold. So lefty LSM playing on Collins, who was dodging to his left. Collison was getting to the middle of the field on sort of a sweep or just, a dodge towards the middle. Wasn't really sort of that long sweep. It was more of a short dodge out of the high corner. It's getting to the middle of the field, but Collison's a moose. He's going to shoot through a piece of aluminum 10 times out of 10 and hammer the corner with that violent release. And Yeah, sure. Could you consider a great defense? I guess you could, but in all honesty, know the scout. The dude's a left-handed player. Like, can we take away his left hand with some body position and not just rely on the head of our stick or our shaft in the V-hole position? Because clearly it wasn't great defense as he was able to get his shot off and ping the lower corner. But, yeah, I just thought it was interesting in my head. It's like, force that guy down the alley. Yeah, he's certainly got a capable right hand as he's worked on that part of his game, but take away his left hand. Hedge your bets, right? Like, don't let the guy get to his strength, the Bill Belichick style. Make him play to his weakness. I mean, other names that we got to shout out for the Hop. Jville, usually a low to high guy. He goes low to low in transition, buries it. Unbelievable to see the young buck changing up his looks. And then, to be honest with you, he goes low to low in transition. And then I believe the following 6-on-6 possession, this goal didn't get enough hype on Twitter, in my opinion. But he cuts to a righty Dodger. I believe it was a wing Dodger. Wing Dodger throws it into him. Terrible pass. And maybe it was a low wing or a Dodge from X. I think it was a low wing. Terrible pass down at his ankles. He catches at his ankles on a lefty cut, and he goes low to high pretty much in one motion. Just absolutely putrid from Jville. But we're going to continue to see that. The dude's a natural goal scorer for sure. Short stick D midi for the Jays. You had Jack Monfort playing like an animal. Transfer from Yale. Clearing the rock, possession ending ground balls. He was backing up shots. He was doing it all. And actually, I want to check. His counterpart was nasty too. See if I can get him. I want to make sure that he gets his flowers here. Reese DeChico. 2 ground balls, 1 caused turnover. Another Lawrenceville freshman from Ontario. Unreal day defensively for Reese. He too was picking up GBs, clearing the rock. Had the 1 caused turnover, but he was a menace defensively. So stick taps to both those guys defensively with the short stick position, Monfort and Reese. But shooting back to the offensive side, Melendez was an absolute problem for the Hoyas. Interesting to see. The dude is just getting it done after some years where I think he underperformed. He's stepping up in a big way. Maybe it was the jacket fix to behind the back from 50 out during his STX visit to campus, but he kept finding himself getting short stick matchups, and that's certainly a testament to the offense, putting him in positions to be successful. And he was actually dangerous from kind of 2 spots. The more traditional area at X, for sure, dodging for himself, both feeding and scoring. The Hoyas had no answer because if you slide off the mirror or the crease, his vision beats you. And if you show down the side, as we talked about with the Loyola scheme, Jville or Collison are going to torch you if you're not perfectly timed. And if you don't show it all from X, he's going to rack it. The other spot that he was jamming them up was the righty wing, high wing. He would float up into the midfield sort of area, dodging areas, work in the pairs action, get a short stick, and go to work sweeping to his right hand and either cannon it or being able to feed a Jville or skip it through or draw attention from the adjacent, throw it forward to Collison for a lefty step down, or if you doubled him off the mirror, which you should never do, or slide to him off the mirror, which you should never do on a righty sweep or a lefty sweep when they're getting in the middle of the field, throw it back and get a great look. But keep an eye on Melendez to continue to sort of hurt defenses from multiple areas, and for him to continue to have a great year. I'm pumped for him. What else we got? Hopkins defense, legit. 3 big tests, and they passed all of them. And it's not only because of the athleticism that they have down there, which is great. they've all got they're all athletes down there, but it's because of their organization in the slide and recover. They're moving as one. Even though there are 6 individual pieces, they're moving as one, and it's simply beautiful and quite honestly not surprising whatsoever. You've got a guy in Coach Kester, defensive coordinator, whose praises I've sung already this year. He's an absolute mastermind and a guy that I think everyone can connect with. His passion, his energy, his just IQ is incredible, and he's clearly been able to teach what it is that makes a defense great to this group of men. And you add in the pieces and the skill sets of the guys that are out there consistently, and it's a great recipe. And Coach Kester is looking trim and fit on the sideline. I know that the dude has gone vegan and it's absolutely working. I'm jealous. Keep it up, Coach K. Keep rolling. The Georgetown D, they started grad student Seamus Foley, the mini-man, Minnesota boy. They started Ty Banks, the sophomore from WRA by way of Coquitlam. Shout out the Adenaks and Brett Kuhala, Bowdoin grad. And then they started the rookie from the Brunswick school, Robert Plath. He's the one that got to chew on Chick all game and did a pretty decent job. G-Town's also got a Siena transfer, Jake Erb at D-mid. Looks the part for sure, did some pretty good stuff. And, overall, the Georgetown 6v6 defense was stout. Hopkins scored 11. They had 2 in the sub game. They had the 10-man ride. So you give up 8 6v6 goals. Unless I'm missing a man-up goal here. Let's check. Nope, Hopkins didn't have a penalty. So, yeah, you give up 8 goals outside of those special situations. Chauvet had the transition goal. So, 7 6-on-6 goals. I can't give you the exact breakdown on the 6v6 defensive efficiency, but I think Georgetown's defense is pretty good, and certainly going to have to be the backbone after what they showed on offense against a very good Hopkins defense. But speaking of that Georgetown offense that seemed lackluster for sure, they're inverting hard or using the big little to set it up early in the game. They were picking on Hopkins, switching the pick game easily. Didn't really kill him with it. Did get some low-angle looks coming around from X, but it was interesting. They were shooting the rock, and clearly by the end of the game, 34 shots and only getting 6 goals. One of which, 0 for 4 on extra man. That's also not a recipe for success. But those low-angle looks, they went 0 for 15 at one point shooting those shots. It was literally a heavy dose of everything from Max and shooting those low-angle looks. But I was curious as I was watching the game, are they going to start to dodge defeat against that matchup? But they never really earned a slide. They were just sort of getting that half step and letting it go, and wasn't a recipe for success. But finally in the second half, they started dodging the alleys and got looks on cage with a bit more surface area, and just wasn't enough. But speaking of shooting, the goalie scout was clearly drilled into the Hoyas. Everything was off hip, even on the short side, right? So Stout's a lefty, so anything down that lefty alley or that righty wing shot seemed to be trying to go near post off hip. This was definitely a part of their shooting woes. I think that's a small spot to hit, especially on the near side. Personally, I'm not a huge goalie scout guy, partly because I learned this term from legendary head coach Mike Pounds from the high school program out of New Jersey, Ridgewood. He coined the term, "You think, you stink." And the last thing I want shooters doing is overthinking, and it seemed like the Hoyas were doing that a touch with some of their shot locations. But in reality, the unforced turnovers killed the Hoyas, especially in the third quarter. The nail in the coffin was a 2-minute non-releasable extra man at the end of the third that Hopkins got. They came up empty on EMO, 0 for 4 on the day total. You're just not going to win many games going 0 for on the extra man when you get 4 opportunities. But bottom line, Hopkins is good. Their strength is their defense. Georgetown has some offensive stuff to figure out for sure, but they've got a defense they can build on, and we all know defense wins championships. So, all right, looking at the fourth quarter. Salt Lake City hosting the Delaware Blue Hens. And I think I got to check on this, but I think Delaware. Yes. Delaware has a nickname that was I was made aware of after the game. Actually, it was Monday night I was made aware of it. The Delaware Blue Hens are calling themselves the ass-kicking Chickens. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. So you got Salt Lake City versus the ass-kicking Chickens. We'll definitely get to the 2 big stories around this game, but first, from the ass-kicking Chickens, love the jersey kit. Blue tops, yellow shorts, blue shell with the yellow wings on the helmet. Just a crispy look for sure. Stick taps to the UDel equipment team. But let's pick this game up going into the second half. The Blue Hens are forced to use a timeout coming out of halftime because they were late getting out of the locker room. But we're going to talk a little bit more about why that's important as we get towards the end of the game. But keep that in mind for sure if you weren't watching. The goalie started the second half for the Blue Hens super strong, back-to-back clean saves, to quick outlets and easy clearing attempts. He was great to start the game. Let's make sure that we give him a shout out here. Kevin Ellington. Let's go, buddy. Great day for Kev. Second half, he was strong for sure. What do we got? Grad student, Loyola Blakefield, the Dons. Bel Air, Maryland. Came out of the half strong, like I said. Clean saves. Obviously, clean saves can lead to those quick outlets and clearing, easy clearing attempts, but also some transition if you play your cards right. The Kickin Chickens were doing their damage for max, both versus poles and shorts. They had a 3-0 run to start the half to erase the 2-goal deficit that they took into halftime. It was also interesting looking at the face-off dot. It felt like Delaware was dominating, and they were, and especially dominant when it mattered most. Delaware won 17 draws to Utah's 10 on the day, but Delaware won 6 in the fourth quarter. We're certainly going to talk a little bit more about that, but Kickin Chickens, ass-kicking Chickens, did a great job taking away transition opportunities from the Utes. If you follow lacrosse at all, the Utes play fast. Yes, this has to do with their riding, but more so to do with their offense, in my opinion. The offense didn't turn it over near the top of the box or near the midfield line. They didn't give up clean saves or took ill-advised shots that allowed for outlets over the top that the Utes are always looking for. Plus, they had super elongated possessions, especially in the second half, putting more stress on the Utes offense, Salt Lake City offense, to be more methodical, to protect their defense, to give them a breather. All these things factor into your ability to play fast. But plus, you add in their success at the face-off dot, which is another chance for teams to run like Utah. And the Utes were certainly out of their element. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Utes. But going back to the face-off, 17 wins on 27 draws on the day, but was it because of the illegal stick? We had a face-off stick check with Utah down 1 in the fourth quarter with under 2:15 to play. The Utes scored to even it at 12-12 on the ensuing face-off, but we'll talk more about that. Talk about what transpired after that shortly. But first, the Utah offense, second half, stagnant with a capital S. Almost looked like they only practiced transition, but it's certainly tape that they're going to want to watch. You know, I didn't feel Cody Hart at all, which was surprising to me. Steins and Faulkner in the midfield had to shoulder the load for the Utes. The Utes did get a couple of caused turnovers in the ride that led to the style that they love to get them back in the game. But goals off of rides, they're huge. They're momentum swings, man. They're awesome. And if you care about sort of playing fast, you have to ride hard because those are opportunities to put the ball on the ground. But with 8:15 left in the fourth, they got one of those goals to even the score at 10. And you know, let's just revisit the last 2:30 of the game. The face-off stick check. Really interested to know what people think about that. I think there's really, in my head, there's two camps. The first is, and I might argue that this is probably the larger camp. There's an unwritten rule. You don't call for the stick check, especially on a face-off guy. But then there's the other camp that says if it's a rule, check it all day long. Why wouldn't you? If they're cheating, they should be called out on it. I'd be interested to see where everybody else fell, in which camp they fell into. I personally, I'm on board with checking it. I know Coach Dave Urich, RIP, he was a big proponent of stick regulations when they started to move to plastic sticks. So I think he would be happy that, you know, the young man was held accountable for having an illegal cross. It was interesting. Coach DeLuca gave a long, hard look down the sideline at Coach McMinn when he called that stick check. Long, hard look. And it almost seemed personal, which I found super intriguing. A little bit like, a couple hockey coaches staring down the benches at each other. It was strong. Coach DeLuca is a big dude. Coach McMinn is not. But I know Coach McMinn wouldn't back down from anybody. But it was certainly a tense moment to see that 3-minute non-releasable stick penalty called at that point in the game. Again, I think I'm on board with it. It's it. Coach McMinn's got every right to make that call. But, made for great cinema on Saturday afternoon. But so stick check happens. Utah goes man up. They score. Ties the game at 12. Under 2 minutes to play. 3-minute stick penalty. Utah stays man up. Non-releasable penalty, obviously. Like I said, ass-kicking chickens won 6 face-offs in the fourth, one of which was when it became 12-12. UDel and Coach DeLuca called back-to-back timeouts after they won that face-off. So they win the face-off, they call timeout. Well, they have to get it below the box, so they get it below the box, they call timeout. They then break the double team, but they run. The guy who broke the double team, he runs to his left hand, and he gets towards the middle of the field and gets into a little bit of trouble, and Coach DeLuca calls his second timeout. And why I'm so interested in this is because coming out of halftime, broadcasters were talking about how the ass-kicking chickens had to use a timeout because they were late coming out of the locker room. And here I am screaming at the TV. They've only got one. They call a second. It doesn't seem like anybody really reacts. I was informed and educated by a coaching buddy of mine. Should have known that he'd know this. But Coming out of half, if you have to call a timeout before a quarter has started, you are docked a timeout from the previous quarter. So UDel had a timeout from the first half still remaining, and they used that one coming out of halftime to cover their tails for their late departure from the locker room to start the second half. So call their second timeout. Utah comes out and doubles again. And the ass-kicking Chickens beat it once from the middle of the field. Obviously a ton of space up there. They get it down the righty alley. They get it goalie's back left. Bennett Palmer has the ball in the goalie's back left below GLE. He runs to his right hand all the way through X up to the righty wing, and he is dead to rights. Double team has caught him. They've reset. They put stick to stick, body to body. Bennett Palmer blows right through it. Blasts back Utah defender. He falls on his tail. Bennett Palmer walks right in, pots his fourth to seal the deal, go up 13-12, and win the game. Incredible, right? But let's talk about it, because I think you have to really think why, right? Utah, why are we double teaming when we're up a guy? Especially in a tie ball game, 12-12. Especially with the shot clock. Shot clock was going to run out. The Utes, I think, had between 20 and 25 seconds left on the game clock if they had just let the shot clock run out. And or, maybe UDel tried to go to the goal, but they had a free slider. Shot clock runs out. Let's say it plays out this way. Shot clock runs out. Utah's got 22 seconds to clear the rock and get a look if they want. If they don't want, and I might be corrected here, but I'm pretty sure if they clear that ball and get it below their offensive restraining line, they keep possession going into overtime. And now you have the ball man up in overtime with a chance to win it. And even if that is untrue, maybe there's a rule where you can't have possession going into overtime. I might be wrong. I should have looked into it. I'm sure I'll get called out for it after this goes out. But even if you don't keep possession, which I think you do, but even if you don't, you get to go to the face-off X, man up, maybe muck it up, double wings, another chance against Delaware's face-off guy with his backup face-off stick. You're still man up and you're in overtime. But if you double team and you get beat, you're exposed because everyone else is shutting off. No support, no nothing. And that's exactly what they did, and they paid for it. But I spoke with a former Utah player, and he was not surprised that Coach McMinn went with the double team. He was thinking in the huddle coming out of both UDel timeouts, the Utes, Salt Lake City, they played to their identity. And that identity is to stick that double team, put the ball on the ground, and score in the ensuing transition to win the game. I mean, I can certainly see why you want to stick to your identity, but with shot clocks and game clocks and being an extra man with an unreleasable penalty, tied 12-12, I got a hard time swallowing that pill. I've got a really hard time swallowing that pill. I think my identity, part of your identity's got to be winning ball games, but I mean, it was a call Coach McMinn made, and they went with it, and I'm sure he can sleep at night if that's actually the case, that's what they do. My opinion, bold strategy, Cotton. That's it for 4 quarters. Let's jump into low to high. Going back to the Cuse game on Friday against UVM, middle of the third quarter, 4v3 fast break. Carter Rice flying down the middle of the field, looks off the point man, who happens to be Joey Spallina, as Joey Spallina was coasting towards a 10-point night. I wonder what that Carter Rice Spallina conversation was like after the game. And to be honest with you, I'm sure Coach March gave Carter an earful as well, because Coach Coach March loves scoring goals, and he's got dudes that can do it. So I just love when a D-Mitty looks off a 10-point guy. Just incredible work there by Carter. Sticking with Friday night, Stags, Fairfield Stags sophomore defenseman Julian Radicic, program record, 7 caused turnovers. Inside Lacrosse had clips of all 7 clipped together on their IG page. Stick taps, salute, nothing near post salute to Julian for sure. What else we got here? Jacksonville Duke game. Anybody else see the lime green cape on the sideline for the Dolphins? Really interesting. Fashion statement. Didn't look cold in Jacksonville, that's for sure, but lime green cape, baby. What a statement. Wall pass. All right, the wall pass on extra man is making a comeback in a big way. And I don't know if it's because it's schematically or if just the skill of the players is going up or what, but UNC got their first EMO goal off of it after going 0-3 to start the day. Cuse is great with this wall pass, usually floating either Finn Thompson into the crease or I think mostly it is Owen Hiltz floating in there into the crease. Huck it into that. What is a wall pass? Huck it into one of the perimeter guys, usually the top center or one of the top corner guys, throws it into the high crease, and the high crease guy catches it, no cradles, moves it back out to the edge as the defense is collapsing on him. And usually when you get a wall pass, you're getting a one-on-one look with the goal with the netminder. I plan to do a film breakdown segment on some extra man separate from this pod, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But the real question to me is when are defenses going to adjust and make the petrifying decision to go 4-man versus the 3-3 to avoid this wall pass, especially if they're getting hit with that high crease action in the 3-3 where the top center guy can dump it right into the high crease and that dude can turn and shoot, or he can turn and no cradles, pop it right out to the edge for a look on cage. So keep an eye out for that film breakdown segment, but it'd be really interesting. I know I've run a 4-man against a 3-3 before. The fellas just had to rotate their tails off. It's scary as all get out, but at least you're keeping the ball out of the middle and the heart of your defense. Certainly something to keep an eye on as the season progresses for sure. But what's next here? Oh, we had the Brennan O'Neill. I mean, speaking of highlight reel goals coming on EMO with the wall passes, but Brennan O'Neill Friday night goal in the Marvel jerseys for the Philadelphia Wings, just pure wowzers. I'll drop a link to a tweet that has the clip in the description here, but lefty getting to the scary area underneath, diving across the top of the crease, one-handed behind his back / underhanded, put it home. Like, the dude's a freak. Back to the college game. Latex gloves. All right, the Bryant Bulldogs were taking on Providence, and what seemed to be a pretty sunny day in Providence, but Bryant Instagram story during warm-ups, they were, I think, doing jumping jacks, the Bulldogs were, and you could see nearly half the team has got the blue medical latex gloves on. That ain't Coach Pressler tough, I'll tell you that. It's a little bit of, I don't know, it's a little softness coming in. But you can't be wearing latex gloves at that high of a clip against an in-state rival, if we can even call them that, which I think you can, or at least a cross-state rival, you know. I guess in-state and cross-state are the same thing, but, you know, a Rhode Island matchup and you're showing up in latex gloves is just not a good look. And then you take the L, and I mean, every little thing matters in these tight games. But Bryant did lead the all-time Rhode Island series, 12 wins. 12 wins to Providence's 9 going into that game. Obviously 12-10 now, but Big win for Providence, and the Friars are moving up everybody's board. I think some people had them in the top 20 this week too. So big win for the Friars, but latex gloves, man. I mean, shit, I played in upstate New York. You'd think wearing latex gloves is a good idea. Those things get sweaty, and then they freeze. So now you've got latex gloves with just a coat of ice on the inside of them. So I don't know. I'm not a latex glove guy, and clearly, what the hell do I know? But take that for what it's worth. Next piece here, Holy Cross goalie, J.R. Long, donning the number 77 match in Owen Hiltz. Wild number choice as a goalie, if you ask me. But JR and the Crusaders got the 13-12 win over Queens on Saturday. But he got it at a cost, man. He made a single save. He made one save, which came in the third quarter, I might add. What's even more mind-bending to me is when you think about it, if you look at it from this angle, that means Queens put 13 shots on net and 12 of them went in. Talk about a high shooting percentage, 92% for those doing the math at home. This result, 13-12, is obviously an outlier to Coach Childs' rule of shooting percentage being super important, but still a crazy stat. And watching the Holy Cross UMass Lowell game this afternoon, broadcast was doing intros and covering the netminders, and they had talked about J.R. Long having a quote-unquote great start to his season with 23 saves through 2 games. And yes, that means he had 22 stops opening weekend because he only had 1 against Queens week 2. That's insane. Absolutely insane. 1 save, man. How, as a head coach or a defense coordinator, how do you not send the hook on a guy like that? Jesus. I mean, as a netminder, you probably want to get out of there too. You're like, yo, it's looking like a golf ball coming off a driver. Get me out of here, coach. Let's go win the game. A little D3 action here in Loyola High. Grove City versus Salisbury down at the U.S. Lacrosse headquarters, I believe, in Baltimore. 8-6 final. Gulls escape. For those who follow lacrosse even a little bit, this is absolutely crazy. Not only because Grove City used to be a nothing program just existing in the Midwest, but because Salisbury is used to scoring 8 goals in a quarter, let alone a full 60. It was obviously a defensive-driven game, but what I mean is both goalies, when I say this defensively driven, both goalies didn't see a ton of shots on cage. Danny Stone for Grove City gave up 8 and made 10 saves. Salisbury goalie Nicholas Ransom gave up 6 and made 11 saves. So pretty pedestrian day, but that means defensively the clamps were down. But 8-6 final for Salisbury over Grove City. Incredible result. Last piece for Loyola High here. All the top 20 lists coming out from the lacrosse media do not make sense to me. They don't make sense to me. All of them have teams who haven't played games yet moving up in the standings. Like, what'd they do? Have a good scrimmage? Have a great practice? Like, why are they moving up? I just don't get it. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what the Ivy Leaguers are all about this weekend. Because of this, Nothing Near Post will start our top 20 on March 3rd. Let everyone get a few games under their belts. And to be honest with you, this isn't unprecedented. College football does it. So I won't be taking any questions about it this time. So you can keep an eye out for the Nothing Near Post top 20 on March 3rd. And that's all we got for Loyola High. Let me know if I missed anything. Next segment, Field Vision. Look back on our gambling picks. Saturday, tough day. Tough day, hand up. We had the dreaded reverse sweep on Saturday. Misread the Hoyas badly. I thought the Hoyas would give Hopkins more of a run for their money, given Hopkins playing their 3rd game in 7 days against a top 20 team. I then broke my own rule by betting on Michigan. It was more of a read. Is UNC actually back? I think they're back. I think the Tar Heels are back. But you can't trust them. Can't trust the boys up north. Definitely broke my own rule. And then as we already talked about, Utes couldn't get their transition going to cover or win, and they were the one leg of the money line parlay that we lost, where Army and Marist got the job done. But we did bounce back on Sunday, hitting the Penn State Nova and the Iona Hampton unders. We missed on the Iona spread of 7, but clawed back with 2 Eagles bets, and then we found another win Monday night with the Cuse under 26. And to be honest with you, only a sicko would ever bet a Cuse under. I might do it again this weekend. We got to see what the Maryland line is, but it was never a doubt on that one as the final goal total 18-7 for 25. So never a doubt there, boys. Never a doubt. But we did give it back a little bit tonight with the UMass Lowell Riverhawks. Took them +3, so we're at -2 units for the year. But we'll catch our stride here. Got to stay committed. This is a long game. This is a long game, long season. Jumping into game balls, I'm going to change this segment next week, but for this week, game balls, got to give one out to Tackman Ryan Bell at Providence Senior, 1-6 in that win over Bryant. He was not wearing latex gloves, and he is, I believe, 4 points away from being the all-time Friar point getter. So nothing near post salute to Ryan Bell. Another game ball to Joey Spallina, 16 points over 2 games. Enough said there. Dude's balling. Certainly looks he's taking his game to another level. He looks a little bit more fleet of foot. He's doing great things, but I think the offense around him is even better too. So obviously, when you're playing with better players, your game elevates as well. And then last attackman getting a game ball is Owen Duffy, 4-2 on 50% shooting. This 50% shooting number is big, and you'd know why it's big if you listen to the Nothing Near Post ACC preview. But quick snapshot, I think he shot the ball at like 22% last year. So and he's a volume shooter. He is a volume shooter. So if he can keep that shooting percentage above 25 in the 30-35 range through the year, he's gonna fill up the stat sheet. Another game ball to Ben Ware, obviously a great day, but I'm not going to hear the quote-unquote offensive threat tag just yet, especially because, he had 2 goals on the day, but one of them was a shot from 65 yards against the 10-man, but certainly had a great day. The dude's a baller. Another rope unit guy I want to give a game ball to, Andrew O'Berry, North Carolina, on the roster as a D-midi. He's a Harvard transfer, but he played some pull. Definitely on the man down unit. I didn't see if he was playing pull just on man down or somewhere else, but either way, short stick, long stick, whatever it was, 4 ground balls, 3 caused turnovers on the day, and I got to believe that Andrew learned everything he knows from his older brother, who's a Bowdoin legend. So shout out to the O'Berry family. Next game ball going to Luke Stout in the goal. He was good again. 3rd top 20 win for the Jays in 7 days. Wasn't asked to do a ton against the Hoyas, but did exactly what he needed to do to get the win. And also want to give a game ball out to Michael Giafricaro. First start down in Chapel Hill after transferring from Princeton for a grad year. 12 saves, 6 goals against in their win over the Big Blue. New threads, same skills for G. And I'll say it again. I think UNC's back. I think they're back. They're not all the way back, but they're certainly trending in the right direction. New segment here. This is in honor of Dickie Vitel's return to the broadcasting booth, like I said, for the Clemson Duke game. But we're gonna call this one Diaper Dandies. For those of you that know college hoops. Dickie V's line, the Diaper Dandies of the weekend. 3 attackmen I want to shout out. You got Hill Plunkett, 2-2 in his debut, doing his part in the Army Black Knights 16-9 win over UMass. You got attackman Liam Kirschis, Shoreham-Whitting River product, 2-0 for the Dukies in their 14-9 win over Jacksonville. And the top diaper dandy of the weekend has got to be Bennett Palmer for the UDel ass-kicking Chickens. He was 4-0 on the day on 7 shots with 0 turnovers, and obviously we already talked about it. He had the game-winning goal when the Blue Hens were man down, split the double team, and potted it for the win. So, shout out to all those game balls and diaper dandies. And then last segment here. This segment doesn't have a name yet, so we're still trying to come up with a name for it. So we're gonna call it the segment without a name. But this is a segment where we're basically tracking a few things throughout the year and taking a peek and sort of seeing where they're trending. But first one's gonna be Syracuse's EMO. I made the statement, and I'm sticking by it, that they're going to be the best extra man unit come the end of the year. Right now, they are 5-8 on the year for 62.5% percentage conversion rate. That puts them, like I said, at 8th. Early on in the year here, obviously, so things will start to level out. But cool to see that 3 teams are perfect on the EMO after 3 weeks of lacrosse. Or I guess it's 2 weeks of lacrosse. Week 0, week 1, week 2, 3 weeks? 2 weeks. And whatever it is. 3 teams are perfect. Siena, 2 for 2 against Boston University this past weekend. Hopkins, this one's crazy. 1-1. 1 for 1, I should say. Hopkins has had 1 extra man in 3 games, and they're still 3-0. Just screams how talented their defense has been for them. And the Monmouth Hawks, 1-1 on the extra man. 1-4-1, I should say, for the extra man. Let's look at some of the other guys behind them there. Let's pull it up here. You've got Bucknell coming in at 4th. They're 7 for 8 for an 87.5% percentage. You got Hobart at 5. Hobart went 4 for 5 against Canisius Griffins for an 80% day. You've got Duke at 6, who's gone 6 for 9 in their 2 games. You've got the Vikings of Cleveland State tied for 6th, going 2 for 3 in their opening weekend at 66%, so tied for 6th at Duke. Shout out to the King Vike and the Vikings. And then you've got Cuse at 8. Rounding out the top 10, you've got 3 teams tied for 9th. Marist 3 for 5 in their opening weekend. Providence 3 for 5 in their 2 games. And Virginia 3 for 5 in their opening weekend against the Colgate Raiders. So we'll keep an eye on that Cuse ranking throughout the year. Next one, next stat we're tracking. This is something we talked about in the Nothing Near Post ACC preview. The UVA man down. It has to improve. It has to improve for them to get to where they want to go and where their fan base and alumni expect them to be. So we'll keep an eye on their man down unit throughout the year. But so far, so good. They held Colgate scoreless on 4 attempts in their season opener, so sitting at 100%. So great start. And then last one here for now. I want everyone to sound off in the comments for other trends that we should follow throughout the year. But last one here is I want to keep track of. I've certainly made a bunch of passive aggressive comments about it, but I want to track ACC versus Big Ten games. Keep a tally throughout the year. So far, ACC 1-0. 1-0. But that's all we got for this episode of the Nothing Near Post show. Still workshopping the name, open to all suggestions, but appreciate you all for listening. Hope everyone enjoys seeing the defending national champs take the field tomorrow without Jordan Faison. Their season opener against the Cleveland State Vikings. Top 10 EMO unit coming into South Bend. Let's see how they can do. But it is going to be our 6th straight day of college lacrosse action, which you love to see. Best time of year, baby. Best time of year. But until I see you next time, please abide by rule number 1, everybody. Nothing near post. Because we need everybody abiding, because Owen Hiltz certainly does not.